Get ready to quit the build.
Here we go.
The QTB crew is rounding up all the gaming news and hot topics of the week with a little extra something. And here are your hosts, Bruno, Brad, and Nick.
What it do? You are listening to the QTB podcast. I'm your host, Bruno, and with me are the boys of QTB. We got Nick, we got Brad. What it do, guys? How's it going? We're in it to win it. Another episode,
Bruno. And I got to tell you, man, it has been a crazy, crazy week for us here at QTB. Because it's been a TikTok frenzy. I think we talked about this on the last episode. But I mean, you want to talk about just a good old time, because we've been playing. I've played more Fall Guys in the last 2 weeks than I think I've ever played, like, period. And I'm having a good old time. They just did.
Have you finished the battle pass yet?
No, because we're playing so many custom lobbies, and you can't get XP for that.
Oh,
what's the deal?
Oh, that is.
Surely nobody would exploit that, right, Brad?
No.
It's exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't. That's not me. That's
No.
Brad's miming for the podcast people at home. For those of you who didn't know,
that's great for our listeners. Yeah.
Our
The world's
listeners
first
are
mimed
just getting it. See, that's why you need to tune into the live stream, obviously, YouTube, because you can't see these amazing facial expressions that Brad has, and I talk with my hands. So those are things that you need to see. You can't hear. You might be able to hear it though if I hit the mic.
Sorry, guys, you're right. I need to speak, not just like give you those weird eye stares. I'm with you. No, we need to give XP to those custom games. I mean, come on, we got a lot of loyal fans in our community playing with you, Nick, on the live streams. Why not get some XP, right?
That's the idea, man. I would think so. But yeah, been a ton of fun there. But also, I mean, a great week here for gaming news. I think we got once again a confirmation that E3 is coming back again. I think we talked about that once.
Hey,
but I mean, maybe it'll happen. Like, at this point, I'll believe it when I see it. Like, I don't know, Brad. You think? Do you think?
I don't know. Hey, maybe we'll record a live podcast from there at some point. Maybe we'll get there, right, guys? Who wants to see us at E3 recording a live podcast? Come on, fans. Come on, chat. Let us know.
You know, we'll set up a table.
Down.
That's it.
I'm ready.
We'll hand out some koozies. I could do that.
Koozies.
that's what people want these days, right?
He means like beer koozies, not jacuzzis. Because we really ain't handling it.
We're not handing out jacuzzis.
Two dudes sitting in a koozie.
Oh man, now that's a podcast. If they can do that one, like what was called podcast, but it's outside, you could totally have a jacuzzi podcast.
Or just you just have to get down with a bubble.
There's a lot of white noise.
Would it be a spodcast? A spodcast, maybe?
A spodcast. Get out of here.
Whoa!
Get out of here. Play it.
Okay, you get that.
Good night, everybody. That's it. Oh, my
Talking
God.
about the first thing that bubbles up, you know what I mean? Like, hey.
Whoa!
Yeah, there you go. Oh, man. Now we're getting into water jokes.
I'm telling you. Hollywood, if you're listening, we're ready and available to write terrible jokes. Mm-hmm. Okay? Woo! We could do it.
Now, speaking of what's bubbling up here, I got to tell you, Bruno, you said on the last episode you were getting ready to jump into Deathloop, right? So how's that been going for you? You know, big AAA release there for the Game Pass.
I did try it out a little bit, and it was really interesting. Obviously, going back and running through the same level over and over again is not a new concept. I think what was that it was like a top-down platformer game that recently came out where you were like in a dungeon, you had to like work your way. I don't know. I'm terrible at video games. There's a lot.
You just described like every roguelike ever.
Let's go to the A through K section of the library and scan those books.
Yeah.
This is a video game podcast, and I obviously know video games. I played it, but I don't remember the name. But it's that same concept, right?
You're like
you
those
die.
people who know every word to a song but can't tell you who sings it or what the song title is.
Exactly. That's me. I can tell you that. I'm like, what's that song? Shazam, tell me. You know, I'm like that terrible Google commercial. Hey,
we
what's
need a
this
Shazam
song?
for games, man. Like you can
patent. Okay.
Mhm.
That's copyright QTB. Shazam.
That's right.
Games. What's this game? I don't know.
What am I playing?
But Deathloop, listen, Deathloop is that it's you die, you go back to the very beginning of the game and you run through it again. So obviously speed runs in this game are going to be pretty interesting. I
Where's
haven't
our boy
really
Justin at?
Yeah,
is he going to be speed running that?
That's got to be really interesting because there's certain things that you have to do. Like you have to trigger X number of deaths before you can progress or something like that. So, you know, and as you're going through the system, you know, you eventually get to this point where you pick up this piece of paper and it's like a to-do list, a checklist of everything that you've done. Somebody is watching you do all these things. And there's tons of things that you can do that maybe you didn't do on your first couple run-throughs of the game. And you'll easily be able to go back from once you see that piece of paper because it's like a live read. You know, it's got a checklist of all the things you've done, like woke up on the beach, you know, killed this guy who was taking a pee. And then at the very end of the list, it's like, read this list. Hi, Colt, you know, and you're like, whoa. Weird, you know? I'm like, hey, where's that thing that the sound effect that does the thing that everyone's like, hey, that's kind of scary. Maybe like this. No, I don't know.
You're the guy with the soundboard. Like you're asking me where it is.
Listen, this is one I never used before, and so I don't know where to pick it up at. I just, you know,
don't make him push the button. Grab's a wild card.
I'm a piece of garbage.
Hey, there it is. That's definitely what you were looking for.
That's not what I was looking for, but that's what I got. Okay.
It fits, right? Okay. It fits. Okay.
Yeah.
It fits.
Amazing.
No, definitely a really cool game. I'd recommend, you know, people pick it up and play it, especially if you have Game Pass. It's any of the Game Pass games. If you're not, you know, testing them out and just playing a little bit of them, you're really not getting your money's worth out of the subscription because that's what it's there for. Yeah. With a huge catalog like that and these AAA titles finally coming over, I disagree with all of the clickbait articles out there that, you know, oh, Game Pass people are going to be upset come September 30th and blah, 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 and all this bull crap. Like there are plenty of games on there. Nobody's going to be disappointed. And of course, if you always want to figure out like a game to play, you should check out our network partners, 1 Hour 1 Decision. Those guys take 1 hour and basically roll the dice and figure out a game to play and then give it an hour, you know, an hour run through, right? Mm-hmm. Which oftentimes is a lot of, you know, that's just about the only amount of time that people have to play a game, especially if you're, you know, in your 30s like us and have responsibilities. And
it matters, man. Like the first hour might be like what you play, honestly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, so Brad, what have you been playing? I've been playing Deathloop. You've been perusing.
I've been chroming it up in Paradise in the new season of Fortnite, baby. Picking up dubs, man. I've been picking up. We picked up a couple dubs lately, my man. Like we had a couple of good solo duos wins the other night, and I've been ranking up the solo wins and, you know, getting ready. This is the best time of year for me and in my perspective for Fortnite, right?
Yeah.
We're getting ready to enter into, they just launched a new season. It's going to encapsulate the holidays. So you got Halloween. I think Halloween is some of the best skins that Fortnite puts out every year. And then you move into the holiday, like the seasonal free gifts and the holiday season. Like, if you're not playing Fortnite, checking in right now just for the high quality skins that are available in the store and in the battle pass. I mean, we were talking last night, Bruno, just going through our library of skins and which ones we have that really are just, you know, really fit for this time of year with fall coming and like Halloween. These are the top notch OG skins in Fortnite. So, you know, I'm just enjoying that. And like I said, I've got limited time to play and I'm loving hopping in right now, testing out the new Chrome, like new feature in the game and being able to like morph through walls and like it also
waiting on that Terminator crossover, aren't we?
Yeah. Oh,
T-1000 better make an appearance.
Yeah.
You know, I saw Ninja tease a new Iron Man skin that may be dropping here soon that looked pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, that's the beauty of Epic, right? And Fortnite, they're always innovating. They're always putting out new content. There's never a dull moment. You jump on, there's something new to check out. They're really starting to expand the creative side, allowing people to like, and the challenges that you have to do to go check out those other modes. So, I mean, when I'm short on time, it's easy to hop into Fortnite and just kind of get yourself immersed in a couple rounds and feel like you're enjoying yourself. There's not a lot of effort to dive in and have to try to accomplish something. You can log in and just go knock down a tree and you earn 6,000 XP, right? So
love that.
I mean,
love that.
You know, the simple satisfaction of progressing yourself in the game and not feeling like winning is what is the only way that you can feel like you're sustaining of your environment and having fun is what makes playing Fortnite enjoyable for me.
My favorite is to thank the bus driver experience points. Just literally pressing a button. And then if you want to go up a tier to the next level of difficulty, there's hide in tall grass for 10 seconds, which is
that's what I do best.
That's
me most games.
Well,
me too.
When we started playing, Jens, what the first thing we did when we dropped in season 1, we just stood in a tree. Yeah.
Yep.
And
we were the tree gang.
Because we landed in a tree that was in the dead center of the last circle, and we made it all the way to the end, and we won a round. Kind of what was that? What's his name? Kind of did the same thing on his stream.
Laser beam. Laser beam.
Oh yeah. Just landing and not doing anything. Right.
Laser beam got that idea from us. Okay, let's be.
Oh yeah,
sure, definitely.
Yep. Definitely,
it was us. Oh my gosh.
QTB.
It's always QTB, and I'll tell you what is also always QTB, and that is our I guess they're their own thing, but because they're sponsoring the network, and I was desperately looking for a segue. This is where I talk about Winner Winner, our network sponsor. So I guess play the thing and I'll say some words. There we go. Guys, as always, want to give a huge shout out to Winner Winner, the official sponsor of the QTB network, where you can play the most amazing live claw machines. They are currently available on Android and iOS. And the best part is your first win is free when you download with our link. You can find that right now in the chat, or you can find it in the description of the show notes if you are listening or watching after the fact. Guys, they have an amazing lineup of prizes, very unique machines, lots of ways to win. And like I said, that first win is going to be on the house. You get to play until you win for free using that link. So make sure to check it out, guys. Great way to support us. Plus, if you use promo code Dale when recharging your tokens at pay.app.winnerwinner.com, you're going to get a sweet deal with 30% free bonus tokens on your next purchase. The link for that is in our show description. Thanks, as always, to our friends at Winner Winner. And you may have noticed that I did skip what I've been playing because I have been playing more than just Fall Guys, obviously Trombone Champ. But my impressions of that, I'm going to save that for that news article because, man, it's a good time. But guys, the big story for today, and this article compliments of Polygon.com, talking about Overwatch 2, that it's going to require the brand new players to unlock most of the roster through play. This is just one of a few articles we're going to get to here because, Overwatch 2 has been a very big source of controversy. Obviously, Blizzard, Activision Blizzard now, has seen its share of major shakeups and very severe allegations that has caused walkouts and caused a pretty big conversation in the gaming industry about how simply people are treated in the workplace. But now, Overwatch 2, they're finally trying to get any product out the door, albeit without a campaign, right? They're not going to have that co-op mode that was supposed to be the defining feature of Overwatch 2 at launch. So this article, it kind of goes alongside the new launch trailer that just came out. I'll go ahead and say I saw it. I was struggling. I want to be hype about it. I want to be hype about Overwatch again, but it really didn't do it for me. And what this article is essentially talking about is that let's say, for the three of us, right, for the QTB crew, we've all played Overwatch before. So we're gonna boot up Overwatch 2. We're gonna have access to the full roster of characters, okay, which right now is I think at like 34.
With the exception of the one that's going to be in the Battle Pass. Well,
right, that's what I'm saying. So there are 32 original heroes that came before Overwatch 2. There are 3 new ones that are going to be in Overwatch 2 that are new, 2 of which, they will be available from the start. And then there's going to be one that's going to be only obtainable through the Battle Pass, which is kind of its own conversation, right? There's a lot of new monetization systems and new Battle Pass systems that we kind of have to like trudge our way through as compared to how Overwatch used to be. But like I said, for us, those classic characters are going to be available. But if you're a new player who's just jumping into Overwatch for the first time, and that's going to be a lot of people. I mean, this game's been out for a while. They are running into a very different scenario. So what this article essentially is saying is that in their focus testing, they heard from a lot of people that it was overwhelming to jump into Overwatch towards the end there of the initial run and have 30 plus heroes immediately available to play. You don't know who does what, who's the all-rounder, who's a good starter character. Yeah. Who do I pick, right?
I could see that.
Yeah, so they're saying, okay, well, we're going to give you kind of a new player experience where you're going to have access to a very small number of characters. And as you play the game, they're saying it's going to take about 100 matches to fully unlock the initial classic roster. I got to say, and I'm curious about your take on this, Bruno, that's a lot of games. I'm not sure that the average Overwatch 2 player, free-to-play or not, has the stomach to play 100 matches.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that a better way to approach something like this might honestly be to have some sort of, I'm assuming they're going to have some sort of unlock or token system that you can either progress through specific characters, but I would imagine that a token system that kind of carries over from the first Overwatch for players who have Overwatch Legendary Edition to be able to have maybe, 10 tokens to start off with or something like that to go ahead and get their hands dirty with some new old favorites of theirs. And I think that would be a better way to do it. But you're right. If you're forcing everybody to do this, even seasoned Overwatch players, it's kind of a bummer, especially, I'm not sure what the progression system looks like right now. If that's, whether you unlock characters sequentially via story mode, or, kind of randomly like Smash, where you've got, okay, I know a set number of this is who's next, as it's coming along. But honestly, you should be able to choose the hero that you want. And, just like Smash, that is a daunting task to overtake. I'm playing it myself. And with a huge roster of characters that I don't have access to, it's kind of a bummer. But I know that if I keep playing, they're going to eventually give it to me. I'll unlock this character and all I have to do is beat them. And it shouldn't be that hard, in that respect. But, that's always the double-edged sword of these types of things. You want people to play the game. You don't want people to get bored with it out of the box. But then you're right, Nick. I think it's a good idea to limit the amount of heroes that one can choose at first, because I think it allows people to better understand how the game is played. And I think that's been the problem with Overwatch since the beginning, is that people don't know how to play the game. They don't know how to use the heroes. They don't know how to follow the payload. They don't know how to play the objective. And when you've got all these random characters that you can, choose from at the start of the game, you don't know who meshes well. Even if you put in a barrier that says why you can only choose one tank, or there's no reasoning behind that. There's just limitations, right? Whereas there should be more of an upfront way to tell new players, hey, the tank does this role. Reinhardt, plays this role in moving the payload. There's so many things that they could do to kind of tip off the community and new players and how to play the game. I think that becomes a problem when you just introduce new characters that, counter all these different things, but you don't tell these new players, how to push the payload, how to do the simple objective of winning Overwatch. And Overwatch in general, Brad knows just as well as I do, it's chaotic. It's confusing. If you've never seen it before, it's like watching League of Legends. There's just a lot of colors and crap going on. You have no clue what's happening,
Yeah.
So you really have to be on your game and to know when to switch a character and when something isn't working out. And I think that a limitation like that can be helpful. It can be helpful.
But I disagree a little bit, because
Go for it.
Isn't the point of playing and having a team of 6, you are able to switch characters mid-match to adapt to whatever the opposition is doing, right? So if your team balance is not right and you can't, like, you're not defending well, you're not stopping the payload, you need access to characters to help maybe switch your strategy. And if you're limited on being able to who you can pick, then it limits your ability. If, let's say, one team can pick everybody and one team can't, I'm wondering how they're going to assess like matchmaking with folks with limited character selection versus players with full character selection, because I think there's an underground advantage for those who have full character selection if they know how to play versus those who have a limited character selection. So I think they're reserving that separation for competitive. But imagine hopping into a match as a new player and you're competing against a character that you can't play and you don't know how to counter that. Like, I could see some matches just being completely overwhelmed by the team that has access to every character, right? And I think the one exception I was reading, Nick, in the article, is that if you link up with friends, it negates that limitation. But even with that, if you don't, like, to Bruno's point, if you don't know how to play, then you're just that's kind of what we all went through. You got to learn on the fly what everyone's skills are, how to work together, accomplish the simple tasks of pushing the payload or defending the payload, blah, 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 blah. But I'm worried about like the matchmaking system ranking, how this new limitation and, unlock storyline is going to play out when everyone's starting off on a different ground. So how do they ensure that the foundation of comparison is the same? Because that's what happened before, right? Is everyone got ranked on 10 competitive matches, and maybe you got into 5 matches where people didn't know what the heck they were doing, and so you lost, and then your ranking was piss poor. Or you lucked out and got on teams that were incredible, and so you overranked like 3 rounds. Like, you were diamond when really you're probably a gold, right? So I'm just wondering, Nick, do you have any insight or thoughts onto like how could they manage that better if this is the strategy they're gonna go with?
Typically, these types of games, Brad, when they have a new player experience, it's very curated in terms of who they match you with and what they let you experience. Now, I say they should. That doesn't mean that they will actually execute. For all I know, they'll accidentally put you in with a top tier masters class, whatever the top Overwatch rank is, and before you know
Was
you're
it
just
Onyx or
something. You're getting schooled.
Something like
but
that.
in any case, Carpe shows up, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just got a 2-shot once again.
It just seems fractured. Like, you're fracturing your player base, and I'm wondering how they're going to eventually bring everyone back together.
Right. I think it's more of an issue of, they, like I said, they heavily focus tested, and a lot of people said, man, it's just really hard to jump into Overwatch and have access to all these characters straight away. A lot of these hero-based games, because you remember, Overwatch is a fusion of first-person shooter with MOBA, right? There are MOBA elements to it. And almost any MOBA game that you play has that experience because they have the same problem, but on a much grander scale. Because MOBAs typically have a lot more mechanics that aren't immediately obvious and require a lot more technical savvy in order to pull off. So in a MOBA, you do have that curated experience of, here's a couple champs, you're going to play against other people. Maybe it's even bot games, so that they know that whoever you're up against, you have a chance to at least, and even to hook you, right? It's a free-to-play game. They want to get that hook and make you feel like, hey, I'm good at video games, and then you find out later you're not.
Well,
but then why do you have to do 100 matches? That seems a bit egregious to me.
Yeah, it's a big number.
So here's the question, right? Is this a player problem or is this a developer problem? Right? Like, are they shifting the blame and saying, well, players are overwhelmed because they can't keep up with all the different, mechanics and, this versus that. It's like playing rock, paper, scissors versus rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock, right? There's so many other variations that can occur that it can be very difficult for anyone to figure out a counter for that system. So my question is, at what point do you start saying, okay, well, maybe we need to develop a tutorial system or a system that puts you in mainly with bots? You know, I think about Fortnite in that respect, where, you know, there's a huge pool of bots in a game if it's your first game, you know, where the bot level is very, very low, where they're pretty much missing all the time. You know,
it's bad.
It's pretty ridiculous sometimes. You know, you're just like, please hit me. I just need to take a little damage here.
Yeah.
And they just can't hit you worth anything. But, you know, so at what point do we shift that responsibility from the player and saying, well, we're going to limit you, instead of saying we're going to teach you? Because the limitation is just that for somebody who knows the game.
Mm-hmm.
But for somebody who's brand new, it's not a limitation, right? It's kind of like a parameter, right? You need to be able to work inside this box before you can work outside the box. That's a smart play. But there's still a lot to be said in terms of a tutorial for these games that are not approachable from a normal gamer standpoint. Like, you can't just, if you're a casual gamer, you're not going to be able to jump into Overwatch and have a good time. You know, You're going to be frustrated. And a lot of games like that, same with League of Legends or, you know, even Call of Duty at this point, right? If you were to jump into Call of Duty, you know, you would probably be confused because it's not as straightforward and as watered down as something like Fortnite. So I think there's something to be said for developers putting forth the effort to educate gamers on how to use these certain things. So what are your thoughts, Nick?
I just think the option is the best thing. Like, ask people outright, like, hey, do you want to go through this experience and learn the characters and have a curated experience, or do you want to go the route of, hey, and maybe it is a new player that, like, they don't have access to their old account or whatever, and they want to get in there, but now they're stuck in this lane of, like, hey, play 100 games. They're also changing, I think, the way that like how you can qualify to play ranked games. Almost every system you can think of has been overhauled in some way in Overwatch 2.
Even the voice chat, right?
The voice chat,
they're trying to mitigate toxicity, because if those of you who have played Overwatch, you know that is some toxic behavior. Okay.
It's rough.
So now they're going to require you to add a phone number. Phone number to actually have voice chat, and they're going to be recording all voice chat.
Correct.
So that is not that developers don't already have access to listening to voice chat, right?
Yeah.
However, this is the first time I can recall of a company outright telling people, we will be recording your message, or the things that you say in chat. Brad, do you think that's going to mitigate any toxicity, or do you think people are just going to, do you think it's going to have any impact at all on the game?
I think people can figure out a workaway around that, right? You can generate a fake number or get a secondary number for an account, right? And create a burner account. So
it won't work.
I mean,
they're saying prepaid phones and VoIP numbers cannot be used. It has to be an actual real number, and they have an SMS confirmation system. I guess what they're stating is in this article that they have a way to know if it's a real phone number or not. Now, if that actually happens, who knows?
I mean, but I guess is that the point is, I mean, I don't know if it's going to limit, and people are still going to say what they want to say. I guess it's just, does that give them a stronger platform for repercussions, right? Instead of just banning someone, like, is there a way to actually, like, leverage the audio if there's, like, a threat or, like, some type of, something that's said that can be considered, something that, breaches legality in terms of actual, like, person-to-person verbal assault, right? So
I think it'll give more weight to the harassment tick. You know, there's always the like voice communication or something. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, I guess the question I have though is it going to stop it, or is it just going to like reinforce the ability to penalize, right? Until we see an example of what comes out of this new enhancement. You know, I there's people who are going to believe it's all smoke, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just the reality, right? People are going to, you know, they're not going to, you know, ask for permission. They're going to beg for forgiveness, right? So there's going to be people who are going to test this anyway, right? So I'm hoping it can reduce the toxicity, because I mean there were several times we played at the first Overwatch that it got pretty full of cheating and just bad game behaviors and things like that, to where it really deterred away from the gameplay and the game style of what we were intending to do as a team, right? You had someone who would go off on their own, or just completely like, you know, even people on your own team, right? It wasn't even just toxicity with the opposing team. It was like toxicity within randoms that would be filled in on your team.
Yeah.
And so it just
people who refuse to play a different character, those types of things.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what
do we call those people?
I don't know.
There's a lot of words we could use that wouldn't be safe for this podcast. I know that.
The solo character players, like that only know how to play one character, and so maybe
one tricks is the term.
Well, there we go. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, shout out to all those Symmetra players out there. So
what do you mean we don't need Widowmaker?
Yeah.
We don't even.
Yeah.
What do you mean Symmetra is not good? Are you kidding me? Hello.
Every game.
She's got lasers.
No counterpicks whatsoever.
But see, you know, and that's
lasers.
but that's my point, right? Is so maybe this system will maybe this system will help with that eventually. But you know, there's just so much you can do to try to combat that. But at the end of the day, it's going to be there. You gotta be like us. Join our community. Know that we're about positivity, and know that you can always quit the build and start over, or go to a different match and find people who are fun to play with and enjoy the game as it's meant to be. That's what my message would be. Come play with us, because we like to have fun.
Love it. That's how you do it right there. And that matters, right? Because it's an ongoing problem in the gaming industry that isn't going to go away. It's certainly been worse back in like the Wild West of like the Xbox Live days of like no moderation, and people just said what they wanted with no consequence and no report system. But nowadays, you know, we do have people and what that are trying to combat it. And here's one good thing I'll say about Activision Blizzard and the attempts that they've made to try and make Overwatch a safe place to play. Okay, they are trying. First, they put in that system of, hey, I want to. You had that list of people that you could put at any time and say avoid this player, and it would not matchmake you with that player. Still a system, I believe. Great idea. In execution, it didn't work out all that well because you only had a limited number of spaces, but they were trying. Then they introduced the commendation system, where at the end of the game, you could say, hey, you in particular, thanks for being a team player, thanks for being positive, that kind of thing. There were different accolades you could give people, and if you got enough of them, it would raise a reputation rank that would give you more rewards. They said, well, instead of trying to penalize the negative players, let's incentivize the positive players. And I mean, that is usually a good strategy in almost any business approach that you can take. Still didn't work very well, but it was a great idea in theory. Okay, so
they're streamlining that for Overwatch 2, right? Aren't they still keeping that as part of the?
I'm sure they are. Yeah, nothing bad came from it. It's just another way to reward people for actually working as a team and trying to, you know, do the best you can in negative situations.
Endorsements are being streamlined from 3 options down to 1. So there'll be an endorsement option in Overwatch 2.
To just a thumbs up. You did it. Yeah. You're the best.
Yeah, you did it. Yeah. Which is much better than convoluting it with, you know, shot caller or, you know, whatever it may be.
Right.
Now, this, to me, I don't really get into lobby chats. It's just something that I tend not to do. I'm always in a party chat with Brad or whoever I'm playing with. And I'm going to be switching over to Discord here soon, because that is a really good implementation of a new chat system in the game. It just has a little bit more to it, right? There's a little bit more to the system, and I've always felt that the Xbox Live chat has been a little laggy And so I'm hoping that this cuts down on latency. That's
He's
something
one
that
shot. He's around the corner. What? Boom.
Yeah.
done. Yeah, exactly. And there's like a noticeable lag too, because you can hear yourself in like the other person's headphone. You're like, okay, yeah, you did say that, but unfortunately, it hit the satellite a little too late.
Too late. Yeah.
I love it. Oh man. Well, look, it's just an interesting situation unfolding here with Overwatch 2. Again, overall, I've been underwhelmed with what I've seen so far. But I think they are trying their best with the hand they've been dealt, and obviously, again, with all the issues that the studio has been having, I don't think it should shock anybody that there's a little bit of a struggle to get off the ground.
So it's coming out. It's coming out in a week, right? So
October 4th.
Are you picking it up, Nick? Are you picking it up, Bruno? Like, is it going to be a day one?
It's free.
Are you going to check it out?
It's free. Yeah, it's free. It's
No
day
way,
one. There's no reason why I shouldn't. If it were, I think that was the smartest decision they've made so far, is making it free to play, because there's no way a $60 price tag was going to fly with what they laid out as their roadmap for this game. And I'll disagree with Nick. I liked the trailer. I thought the trailer was great. It didn't show me anything new or anything that like I was like, other than like, a couple new heroes and like, a number of like, these are the amount of maps and stuff like that. But it really depends. I went really hard into Overwatch for many, many years and saw the decline of the game and player base and the addition of all these heroes that didn't help. Yeah. Maybe, paring it back a little bit might have some benefits to it. I don't know. We'll see. But being that it's free to play, of course it's going to be a day one download for me.
Mm-hmm. Are you guys going to buy the battle pass? I know there's a free battle pass, but the premium one with all of the, unlockable and extra, features that I think is like $10 for the season. So is that going to be a buy?
I think you get some stuff with if you have the legendary edition of the first Overwatch. So each of us should be able to go in with some coins, and to be able to test out something, and give a little bit something back to the players of the OG game. Whether or not
you don't want to be an early adopter of like you were in Halo, right, Bruno, and then get gypped because they dropped the price after you bought it.
Oh yeah. I would say that is a huge red flag. It should have been a red flag for me from the beginning that they upped the price lowered the price of that to give you more coins, and then didn't address it to anybody that had previously bought something. Let's
hope Overwatch doesn't make that same mistake.
Yeah, I'm not happy with the Overwatch monetary system either. I think loot boxes were a shame. And it's a big tarnish on the gaming, on gaming history.
Yeah.
I think it really is one of those things. I know we're getting a little off topic here, but I think, in terms of battle pass, I think I'm more likely to give my money to a battle pass than I am towards the loot box system ever again. And I don't think that will ever come back or make a return, because it's too dirty. It's too dirty of a way to get things. It's not savory. You literally are gambling. And I have nothing to show for it, really. Maybe you get, I think that the biggest problem that games like FIFA are going to experience are the pack openings. That's a huge thing on YouTube, similar to like trading cards now. Everyone's opening Pokemon cards on, in front of a camera to get their reaction. Those types of videos are going by the wayside. But if you have to rely on, a random chance loot box to get somebody to have, a clip of your game online, you're doing something wrong. So, whether or not the battle pass is good is irrelevant. It's more about the game. right? If the game is good, I'll support it with a battle pass, purchase, because I feel like that's a way to support the developers and really say, yes, I agree. But it's not a given. It's not a given. Tons of games have come out. Multiversus, I didn't dive into the battle pass for that. So.
No. Yeah, definitely not. Well, I'll tell you what battle pass you should jump into, guys, and that is the battle pass over at Patreon. Of course, I'm talking about patreon.com/quitthebuild. For just as low as $2 a month, you can get access to our back catalog of the QTB Nostalgia Vault, a dive into all of your favorite snacks, games, and more of the 80s, 90s, and beyond. Again, patreon.com/quitthebuild. Thanks as always to our QTB supporters, like our QTB and Fuego supporters, Epic Capture Productions, Matt.Bat, and Alexa, and our QTV Plus supporters, Nick, the Dudist Monk, Indie Gamiacs, Alan Abadessa, Mr. Grove Games, the Intergalactic Pinecone, Fluffy Bunny, and Kawaii Potato. Thank you all so much for helping to directly support QTB and fund the positive-minded and inclusive programming that you hear right now. There you go. That's what I got. And I do want to say something here, Bruno, because we've been talking about this. About just how amazing our supporters here have been at QTB. We've had a lot of patrons that have been supporting us for over a year now. Man, time flies. That's crazy to me. But I want to give a special shout out. So Nicole, who was our very first Patreon supporter back in March of 2021, we were barely even a thing, and she said, "I'm on board," and she has been ever since. Amazing.
Yes, she has. Yep.
Yeah, Russell, thank you so much, Russell, a huge supporter, aka Epic Capture Productions. One of our been there since 2 days later, March 27th. The Dudist Monk, Indie Gamiacs, Alan Abadessa, all of you have been with us for a year, and we got many others that are coming up on their 1 year in October.
I was saying,
just amazing.
Where are you seeing all of those? Like, is there a place where we can see all of our followers and how long they've been subscribers?
You must be talking about quitthebuild.com/community, Brad.
What? Really? Am I?
That is right. That's one of the perks of supporting us, is that you get your name on the wall there at the $5 tier and up. But I mean, it's just, look, and I do want to say there's a million ways you can support QTB. We've got the merch, we've got memberships through YouTube, through TikTok, what have you, right? But Patreon really is one of the best and most direct ways to support us, because they take a very small cut compared to other platforms, and the content that you get there. Really, I mean, the value that you're getting for it is huge. We're really happy with what we have here at Patreon, right, Bruno?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the growth of our Patreon and seeing how many people are on board to not only get this content but other content as well. Some behind the scenes stuff and just a more closer knit part of the community. It really does mean a lot to us to have your support and to help keep the lights on, because we all have regular jobs that we put into from 9 to 5, and so this is a real big passion project for all of us. And so to see your support for us, it just shows, it validates us and allows us to do more and bring awesome things like this boom shakalaka awesome soundboard that everyone loves. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. And listen, if you're out there and you're worried about, it's less than a cup of coffee. It really is. $5 a month. I mean, come on, right? Like, and then you get your name up there. Not only that, for the supporters that really go ham on our Patreon, we got some merch on there, and of course we've got merch on our exclusive merch. That's right, and then we've got the everybody merch on our merch page on the Quit the Build website, which has recently got some updates. I mean, it's been doing great.
Yeah,
like there's lots of updates on there. Go check it out, please. Quitthebuild.com and stop by and tell us you said hey. Leave us a comment on something.
Well, and there's always the Discord. I know we're kind of plugging the networks here. Gotta go check out Terry Terry the Discord Lord, and be a part of our Discord and really get a chance to bond with the community that's on there and share your thoughts on a variety of topics. So
yeah,
you can connect with us a lot of ways. We welcome you anywhere and everywhere. You're a part of the family, and we love having you tune in and listen to us talk about games.
Oh yeah, and games we will talk about because our next story, guys, I'm so excited about this. It's coming from The Guardian.
I wanted just to give you the platform, Nick. You just need to give us your TED Talk on Trombone
I
Champ.
just look, every now and then a game comes along and no one saw it coming. I don't think even the developers saw it coming, but like the right person at the right place at the right time streams the game, talks about the game, and before you know it, it just goes from this, obscure game with zero marketing budget that like one or two people just made in their spare time to just the next thing, right? And this game, again, coming from theguardian.com, talking about Trombone Champ, okay? So two people make this game, all right? They go by the name of Dan and Jackie Vaquito, I think is how it's pronounced. So they basically said, why don't we take what's going on with like Guitar Hero and the rhythm game genre and apply it to trombones? I will say this has actually sort of been done before because during like the heyday of blank hero, right? There was a hero for a DJ hero, guitar hero. There was a band hero. And the band hero did have like band instruments that you could play, but not like this. So, okay, I mean, and the concept is so simple, right? The idea is you've got a trombone, you use the the mouse, and you just click to toot, right? And that's the goal. The game tells you at the beginning, like, go forth and toot, and you do toot. So all of the modern classics like God Bless America, the Star Spangled Banner, the Old Gray Mare, Take Me Out to the Ball Game, contemporary classics. And I mean, classics. You do it in style because what I love about this game that separates it from a lot of the other games out there that have tried to create rhythm games is that what you play is what you play, meaning that you're playing on a slide. There's no button for a certain note. Like if you're slightly off pitch when you click, you'll get credit for it, but it'll sound slightly off pitch. So what ends up happening, it's like the automaton thing I have right here, right? Like when I play it and you're going up and down, like it creates comedy. Because if you sit anybody in front of this game and get their genuine reaction for the first time, what's going to happen is they're going to play the notes wrong. And like just that off note thing happening, it's so funny that it makes you laugh, which makes you play worse, which in turn makes it funnier. And the reactions of people playing it for the first time, it's just comedy gold. And the guys who, and the guys, exactly, and the guys who can get good at it, like there is a high skill ceiling because you have to be very precise with your taps. It's one of those games, Bruno, that they come around every once in a while. Like I think of like Valheim, right? Small production team. They put the game out there, the right person got a hold of it, and before they know it, they're selling big copies because this game has gotten over 20,000 downloads. It is a pay-to-download game only on Steam for Windows. So for such a limited number of places you can get it, that's not bad, right?
No. And I am glad to see another rhythm-based game come back. I mean, you and I grew up on Dance Dance Revolution and then migrated to Guitar Hero. You were a huge fan of Rock Band. I was more of the Guitar Hero guy. And even went on to get the new Guitar Hero where it had it was like 3 on top, 3 on bottom instead of the traditional color spectrum that you had there for the buttons. But, I'm glad to see any type of a game like this. And hopefully, this is a game where maybe we can see some of the modding community come in and add some licensed, quote unquote, licensed content, right? Like non-licensed modding content that we want to see on there, because it would be great to play Gonna Fly Now or anything from the Rocky series.
Okay, so fun fact, I did that. So okay, here's what happened. I was in the improv mode. I was streaming this on TikTok. And so I realized there's like a freestyle mode where it just gives you like the scale and you can just play whatever. And there's no backing track. And so I'm like, wait a second, I'm just going to play karaoke versions of songs. And I took requests. And then I'll just play like the best trombone rendition I can, which is hilarious because I have no notes to guide me. So I'm just out there just living my best life on this trombone. Yes. I love how all the notes are slightly wrong, so it's not really yeah. That's my kind of DRM free music. Yeah. Oh, I mean, it was amazing. And I think it did highlight, Bruno, that like, and I'm hoping that these guys can rally off the success of it and actually get those bigger songs to actually be part of the game with DLC. The problem that I see, Brad, is I think about Valheim, right? So when Valheim had its big moment, they said outright they weren't ready for the success that they had. I mean, how can you go from being a small studio that's barely getting out a game in your spare time to needing to suddenly scale up to the size of like a AA, studio in order to keep up with the demand for a game? So what ends up happening is they want to get the game out to other platforms. They've already said they do want to see a Mac version, they want to see an Xbox version, that kind of thing. Problem with that is it takes time. And now if you can't find the people to help, scale your business up, you're going to be a two-player team that you think Valheim is just now coming to the Xbox, right? And Valheim's success really has come and gone in terms of its virality. But that's because, and a lot of players are complaining on PC. They're like, hey, we're not getting new content. Well, they're like, yeah, because we've been, our very limited team has been trying to get this game out the door to other people. So there's kind of a trade-off where you can kind of almost be a victim of your own success, right?
Yeah, or a victim of running before you walk. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe catching a big wave bigger than you were anticipating, right? So, for me, or what looking at this, you have to look at what is the long-term revenue, like sustainable revenue model, right? If it's going to take you 2 years to develop, the next platform, if you only have it on one system, how much money are you losing by not putting out new content, right? You kind of have to flush out both business cases, look at the cash flow, do it, kind of understand, how much time, sunk costs are you losing just trying to re-put out the same title on multiple platforms versus putting out new content for people to buy and dive into on the platform you started with. And so it's an interesting discussion. I think Valheim's a nice reference to say, okay, maybe that wasn't the right direction to go, but at what point does this does the novelty of this wear out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, and so I think you're right. I mean, if the novelty wears out quickly and there's nothing new to grasp, then the original player base is going to be gone.
Yeah.
And by the time it hits the other platforms, right? I mean, think about how long it took Fall Guys to come out on Xbox, right? I mean, like, it took a long time. So,
but they're seeing a resurgence, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say that they're an anomaly in that respect because
that's my point,
they
right?
really did make a strong comeback.
Yeah.
And in order for this to make a strong comeback, they're going to need, like I said, they're going to need licensed content. That's first and foremost, and that seems to be the biggest crux for a lot of these rhythm-based games. You look at what's the drumming one, Nick?
Like Rock Band?
No. The Japanese drumming one.
Oh,
Taiko Drum Master?
Yep, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That one is a great game that has a lot of,
Bruno's consistent through the whole episode, everybody. He knows the games, just doesn't know what they're called.
Yep, start to finish. I've played it.
I complete Bruno in a lot of ways with what's that game? Yeah, I try. Yeah.
What's that
drumming
game?
One,
roguelike.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
The game where you go through the dungeons and it's different each time. Most games that came out in 2021,
all the games have Respawn now, bro. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But you're right. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of these rhythm-based games is just a library of licensed content, and it's expensive. It is expensive. Nick would know he dropped about $4,000 on the entire Rock Band song collection.
I don't want to know the number, and I hope you're probably not far off. Plus the hardware,
like $3 a song. Like it was really harsh, to like say like, because I mean, I'm the type, Nick and I are the, LimeWire Kazaa, kids who grew up downloading techno song number 19, only to never figure out what the name of the song was
the
until
actual
Shazam.
title of the download, right? Yeah. Amazing.
Which is exactly why we're going to be doing a Shazam for video games so that Bruno, myself, I don't have to worry about ever figuring out what that game was. I'll be like, hey, QTB, what's that game that's like the drum rhythm bass game, but it's like all Japanese? And then Nick will come on and be like, oh, yeah, that's Taiko Drum
Oh,
Master.
I'm just going to be your concierge. I gotcha. Okay. Yeah. 1-800. What's that game?
You guys
we're bringing back the hotline, like the Nintendo hotline from the 90s.
Oh, and then
Genius business
to
plan.
have that smooth, smooth jam while you're on hold. Like, can we have a little beat it, like do the the smooth jams,
Uh-huh. Get that Cisco bowling music.
I've got it.
Do ya?
Well, that seems about a good segue for us to peace out and say, hey, thanks for stopping in and joining the podcast. We really enjoyed it. Nick, do you have anything to say to the people out there?
We already said all the things earlier, so I actually don't have anything.
Oh, well, that's great. I hope you enjoyed this music. And join us next time on the Quit the Bill podcast. Peace out. What it do?
Quit the Bill.